I was 31, living what most would call a quiet, steady life in a small Minnesota town. My name is Clara Sterling. I worked as a student advisor, guiding young people through choices I sometimes wished I could make for myself. My husband, Callan Pierce, worked in tech from home, kind, thoughtful, and reserved to the point that sometimes I wondered if he even noticed me at all. We didn't argue. We didn't fight. But that silence between us had grown heavier than words. A weight pressing into the corners of our home. Evenings were routine. Dinner together, a show on the couch, then bed facing opposite sides. There was no spark, no warmth, just an unspoken agreement to coexist. And though I sometimes told myself that all long marriages ended up this way, the truth was undeniable. I felt invisible. Callan, I think, felt it too, but he rarely admitted it. Perhaps we both assumed that this quiet suffocated us in the same way. Then one evening something shifted. I had just finished folding the laundry when he appeared beside me on the couch. A seriousness in his eyes I hadn't seen in years. "Clara," he began, his voice steady yet tentative. "I've been thinking." "About what?" I asked, folding a towel into place, unsure if I wanted the answer. "About us," he said, pausing as if measuring the weight of the words. "About how things feel between us." I stayed silent, listening to the rhythm of my own heartbeat. "I know you're not happy," he continued. "And I know I haven't connected with you the way I used to." It was the first completely honest thing he had said in ages. My throat felt tight. "You're right," I admitted softly. "It's not working and I don't know how to fix it." Callan's gaze met mine, steady and vulnerable all at once. "I want to try something," he said, his voice low. "Something different? Different how?" I asked, though a part of me already feared the answer. He hesitated, shifting slightly. "I've been reading about couples. Trying open conversations. Sometimes arranged emotional experiences to help rebuild connection." I blinked, stunned. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" He looked down, uneasy. "I want you to talk to someone. Just once, someone I choose. I'll be there, not in a strange way. I just want to understand what you need. I think it might help us see each other again." I laughed, the sound shaky, then tears came unbidden. It was the most unusual and confusing idea I had ever heard. And yet, beneath the fear and incredulity, curiosity stirred. That scared me almost more than anything else. A week passed. I assumed he'd let it go, but one evening he handed me a small piece of paper. A name, a time. "Nathaniel Brooks." "I've talked to him," Callan said quietly. "He's respectful. He understands the boundaries." I didn't know whether to argue, storm out, or sit silently with my confusion. But something inside me, a mix of frustration, sorrow, and the tiniest flicker of hope, made me agree to go. The night came. Nathaniel was calm, polite, and unassuming, his warm eyes gentle in the dim light of the rented cabin. Callan sat in the corner, glass of water in hand, looking almost more nervous than I was. The atmosphere was strange, intimate, yet safe. No drama, no tension, just conversation. And the weight of years lifting slowly off my shoulders. Nathaniel asked me how I had been feeling. I found myself telling him things I hadn't dared share with anyone, not even my closest friends. I cried quietly when he asked what I missed about my younger self. I laughed when he spoke of life's confusion, its unpredictable turns. And in his attention I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, being truly seen. At one point, he reached out and lightly held my hand, a gesture of comfort that spoke volumes without words. That small touch shattered walls I hadn't realized were still standing. Callan saw it. He nodded slowly, silently acknowledging an understanding neither of us had ever voiced. This wasn't betrayal. It was release. On the ride home, the car was quiet. But once inside, Callan turned to me and said, "Thank you. For trusting me, for trusting us. I didn't realize how much you were carrying." "I didn't realize it either," I whispered, feeling an unfamiliar lightness in my chest. Over the following weeks, Callan and I began talking, not the polite, empty chatter of the past, but real conversations about childhood fears, loneliness, and hopes we had buried. The walls began to crumble, not because of Nathaniel, But because we had finally broken the silence, months later, we started couples counseling. Not to fix something broken, but to build something new, stronger, more honest. Nathaniel never came back into our lives. That night was never meant to last. It was a mirror, reflecting a part of myself I had neglected for far too long. So, yes, the title might sound surprising. But the truth is, the evening I spent speaking with the man Callan chose wasn't about disloyalty. It was about rediscovering honesty, compassion, and understanding in the most unexpected way. Sometimes love doesn't look like it does in the movies. Sometimes it's messy, complicated, even painful, but it can still be real. And if you're wondering, yes, we are closer than ever. Because we finally stopped pretending and started speaking the truths we had long ignored. The next step in our journey was uncertain, but something told me that night had changed everything.